You know, life has a funny way of throwing us into stories we never signed up for. Picture this: a frozen highway, wind slicing through the trees, and two tiny grizzly bear cubs trembling on the shoulder. Not a soul in sight. But then comes Michael Holloway, a retired mechanic with a tired heart and a truck full of silence. He wasn't out looking for a miracle. He just needed to pull over and breathe. What he found instead was something that looked a lot like destiny and fur. Michael had lost the love of his life not long ago, and since then he'd been drifting. Just a man and his dog, Cody, driving aimlessly through the cold. Grief can do that to you. But when his headlights caught those two little figures shivering on the roadside, something ancient stirred in him. It wasn't logic, it was instinct. That deep-down, gut-pulling voice that says, "Do something." And oddly enough, it sounded a lot like his late wife. Now let's talk real for a second. Most folks would have kept driving, maybe dialed someone, maybe not. But Michael, he stepped out. No gloves, no plan, just heart. There's something powerful about people who act from the gut, even when the brain screams no. You don't have to be perfect to be heroic. You just have to care more than you fear. And in that moment, he cared more than he had in a long time. As he crouched down and looked those cubs in the eye, he wasn't just facing two scared animals. He was staring into a chance to matter again. And here's the kicker. Sometimes it's not us who save the lost. It's the lost who save us. Michael didn't know it yet, but this story, it was about to turn wild. Michael knew he was crossing a line the second he scooped the cubs into his arms. It wasn't just the cold air biting his skin. It was the weight of two lives, warm and shivering against his chest, and 100 questions buzzing in his head. Is this legal? Am I doing the right thing? But compassion doesn't always wait for permission. Sometimes doing the right thing isn't about rules. It's about rescue. He wrapped them in his old emergency blanket, one that had probably sat in the glove box for a decade, and tucked them gently in the back seat. They were barely moving, just tiny bundles of fur and fading heat. Michael reached for the only warm thing he had, his thermos of coffee, and let them taste it. Just a few drops, just enough to remind their little bodies not to give up yet. It wasn't in any survival manual, but love rarely is. And then there was Cody, Michael's loyal golden retriever who, without a word, climbed into the back seat and curled his body around the cubs like he understood everything. That dog didn't bark, didn't sniff, didn't hesitate. He just lay there, offering quiet solidarity the way only animals can. It's wild, isn't it? How rescue often moves in silence, not spectacle. The truck rumbled to life, tires crunching over snow and gravel, as Michael drove away from the highway, and toward something he couldn't quite name. He didn't know what would happen next. But in that moment, with two cubs breathing softly behind him and Cody watching over them, he felt it for the first time in months. A pulse, a purpose. And just ahead, the road was about to take a turn no map could predict. Michael's tires crunched through fresh snow as he reached the old cabin tucked deep in the forest, his late father's hunting retreat, long abandoned, but still standing like a stubborn ghost from another life. The place smelled of pine, old leather, and memories. No electricity, no running water. Just a fireplace, some rusty tools, and now, two rescued grizzly cubs curled up in a bundle of blankets. Funny how quickly a place can go from forgotten to sacred. He started small. A fire first, then a pot of warm milk mixed with a bit of honey. His wife used to say honey could soothe almost anything. With shaking hands, he fed the cubs, drop by drop, watching color return to their noses, warmth to their tiny paws. It wasn't perfect, but it was working. And in every quiet moment, as he adjusted the fire or checked their breathing, something inside Michael softened. The days blurred. Snow kept falling. He spoke to the cubs like they were his own, told them stories about engines and road trips, about a woman who once believed in second chances. His voice, once stiff and hollow, grew gentle again. Isn't it strange how healing someone else can heal you too? We think we need a plan, But sometimes, all we need is presence. Showing up, every single day. And that's exactly what Michael did. Morning to night, he became their guardian. His grief didn't vanish, but it had somewhere to go now. Into the way he folded their blanket, the way he stirred their milk, into the fire that never went out. What he didn't realize was that this sanctuary, born out of instinct and snow, was about to be tested. It was early morning when the knock came. Sharp, deliberate, too confident for someone just lost in the woods. Michael froze. Through the frosted window, he spotted two men, both armed, with that look city folks get when they've spent too long pretending to belong in the wild. They weren't here for directions. They were here for something, or someone. And suddenly, those two bear cubs behind the fireplace weren't just animals. They were a secret worth guarding. Michael opened the door with a calm he didn't feel. "Just me and my dog," he said, voice steady, hands in plain sight. The men asked about sightings, tracks. "Any animals out here lately?" They leaned in too close, eyes scanning the cabin like they could sniff out the truth. But Michael didn't flinch. He lied, boldly, simply, and without apology. Because when the stakes are high enough, truth becomes a luxury you can't afford. Back inside, he sat by the fire, heart pounding. The cubs stirred, one letting out a soft, helpless squeak. Cody perked up but stayed close. Michael looked at them, then at the rifle above the mantel. He hadn't touched it in years. Didn't want to. But now, the line between man and protector had been drawn, and crossing it no longer felt wrong. It felt necessary. That night, as the fire hissed and the wind howled, Michael made a decision. If anyone came for them again, he wouldn't just lie, he'd fight. Not out of recklessness, but out of purpose. When you've lost everything and finally find something worth saving, you hold on like hell. But he couldn't shake the feeling that nature might have its own plans, and they were coming fast. The snow fell in thick, unbroken sheets as Michael sat in front of the fire, staring at the cubs. They had come a long way, and so had he. He was ready, he thought, ready to make the call to wildlife authorities. They needed to go home, back to their own kind, back to the wild they belonged in. But something about the stillness, the weight of the storm outside, made him hesitate. It wasn't just the cold. It was the right choice, and that's the hardest kind of decision, isn't it? Then it happened. A low growl echoed through the trees, distant but unmistakable. Michael's heart skipped a beat. He stood, silent, listening, and there it was again, a deeper growl, closer now. The cubs froze, wide-eyed. They knew. A sharp instinct whispered that the time had come. That mother, she was out there. Michael stood frozen in the doorway, staring at the vast snow-covered expanse. Was she out there? His thoughts raced. Part of him wanted to rush outside, but another part wanted to shut the door and keep them safe forever. The idea of sending them out into the unknown, into that wild world they were meant to roam, felt like betrayal. He had come to love them, but love meant letting go when it's right, even when it hurts like hell. The growl grew louder, closer. Michael could feel it in his bones now. It wasn't a threat. It was a summons. The mother had come for her cubs, and in that moment Michael knew the truth. He had been a bridge between two worlds. One foot in the past, one in the future. And now, with a heavy heart, he had to let go, for their sake. He wasn't just protecting them anymore. He was honoring a natural law that ran deeper than anything he could ever teach them. The wild was calling, and he wasn't the one who could answer it. Now, as you reflect on Michael's journey, ask yourself, what would you do if faced with the same decision? Would you protect those in need, even at the risk of your own safety? Michael's story isn't just about saving bear cubs. It's about rediscovering what really matters and choosing to act from the heart, even when the world tells you otherwise. The next time you're faced with a difficult choice, remember this story of courage and compassion. How far would you go to make the world a better place for someone else? If you've been inspired by this incredible rescue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell for notifications, so you never miss another powerful story like this one. Join us in celebrating compassion one story at a time.